My name is Daniel and I'm the real power behind a furniture company for Philadelphia. When I was 32 years old, my world turned upside down. I recall the weight of the $100 bill. Not the paper itself, but the way she placed it on the table, like flicking away a piece of lint. Her smirk sliced deeper than any knife, and her words still echo flat and cruel. Order a ride to your parents' house, farewell, my spouse, my brother's lover. And yet I didn't falter, not even then, because by that moment I already knew the contest was mine. For years I was the quiet one in the family, the ghost beside my brother Jacob. He was always the one people noticed, the golden child, the charmer, the CEO of our father's furniture business, and me, the man behind the curtain. I built the company from the ground up, managing the finances, designing strategies, transforming rough lumber into polished steel. He wore the expensive suits, smiled for photographers, shook hands. I did the work, and she was meant to be my foundation. Eleanor, my wife, she said she loved my quiet strength, said she admired the way I never sought the spotlight. She said a lot of things, but admiration turns to monotony. Monotony turns to murmurs. Murmurs turn into furtive glances, and one day betrayal. I caught them by chance, not in a bed, not in some melodramatic moment. No, worse, I overheard laughter, her laughter, the one she used to save for me, now spilling freely in his office. I heard my brother's voice mutter something about our future, and her promise that I'd be out of the picture soon. My stomach sank, but my mind sharpened. They thought I was weak. That was their first blunder. From that day, I became a phantom in my own home, silent, observant, calculating. I gathered everything: emails, bank transfers, recorded calls. Jacob was careless, too confident. He used business funds to entertain her. He signed documents without reading them, trusting his legal team, the one I'd constructed bit by bit. I established the groundwork: quiet modifications to contract, subtle shifts in voting rights, silent transfers of power masked as routine legal terminology. He thought I was still the supporting figure. He never saw the cords tightening around his neck. Eleanor, on the other hand, flaunted her new allegiance. She whispered in my ear about how much of a man Jacob was, how he knew how to satisfy her in ways I never could. She said it with malice, trying to break me. I allowed her to. I wanted her to believe she'd triumphed the divorce proceedings. Where her stage she arrived, draped in designer clothing paid for with company money Jacob had embezzled. She demanded the residence, the automobiles, half of what she thought was my share of the business, and then she dropped the $100 bill. My attorney, a man devoted only to me, laughed so loudly the judge had to silence him. Eleanor's smirk wavered. Jacob shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Because what they didn't know was simple: Jacob was never the CEO. On paper, on every legally binding document, I was, always had been. My father had trusted me, not the golden boy, to carry his legacy. Jacob had been nothing more than the figurehead that faced the puppet, and puppets don't own businesses. I recall the exact moment the truth exploded. My attorney slid a folder across the table. Eleanor reached for it, expecting victory. Her face drained of color as she flipped through the pages. Every line, every signature, every legal clause placed Jacob, not as the proprietor, not as the CEO, but as an employee. A very well-paid, very dispensable employee. Impossible. Jacob stammered, his confident facade cracking. I leaned forward, my voice calm, steady. You played the part, I gave you nothing more. Eleanor's mouth opened and closed like a fish, gasping for air. But the cars, the penthouse, all leased in the company's name. I said, my eyes cutting into her. Not his, not yours, mine. The judge didn't even bother hiding his grin. By the time the gavel struck, Jacob had nothing but his name, and Eleanor had less. No settlement, no business, not even the house she thought she'd claimed. Only thing she left with was that $100 bill. I walked out of that courtroom lighter than I had in years, not because I'd won, but because I'd finally revealed the truth. Eleanor had traded loyalty for ambition, only to discover she'd gambled on a hollow throne. Jacob had stolen my wife, but in doing so he lost the only safeguard he had in the business world, me. As for me, I didn't need their apology. Their downfall was apology enough. That night I sat alone in the CEO's office, the one Jacob used to parade through like a king. The city lights stretched out before me, cold and unending. I poured myself a drink, lifted it to the glass, and whispered farewell. Not to them, to the man. I used to be the man who tolerated betrayal in silence. Now there was only me, the real CEO, the true power, and I never looked back. Sources: